Hi and welcome to the Cloaked Hedgehog's YouTube channel. As you can hear, my voice isn't really what it used to be. I got the flu in early January, together with the bronchitis and coughing from hell. And, not the nice coughing, not like that. No, this was coughing your guts out and literally throwing up. Coughing until you throw up many times. It was that. And this made my vocal cords grumpy. And they developed what's called laryngitis, and it's gonna go away eventually. It just takes a heck of a long time. So, it's been 2 months. I've been waiting to make this video for you. And, you're gonna have to put up with this voice because I can't wait any longer. I just wanted to talk to you about a little bit what's been going on here lately. I'm not interested in UFOs, so to speak, but that I'm sort of followed by them. Well, I had this sighting or whatever a few months ago, maybe, I don't know, November, December, something like that. And I don't know if it was a UFO or if it was a flock of birds. You're gonna hear why I'm not sure. I don't think it was a flock of birds because it was way too fast, but it was the first and only UFO anything that I've seen in the sky that didn't give me anxiety. This actually made me feel, wow. So I was out Pokemoning and we have these 2 little mountains in this town, and I was up on one of them because there's a gym and 2 or 3 maybe Pokestops up there. So I had done everything and I was gonna go down the other side of the mountain, which is the side closest to the actual town, and there are stairs on that side of the mountain. Steep, evil stairs. It's very hard to go up on that side. Not that it's particularly easy to go up on the other side either, but anyway. So I done all the pokey stuff, and right before the stairs start, I was standing there just looking out over the town. It was nighttime, but not like midnight or anything. It was maybe 6, possibly 7 at night. And I was just standing there taking a break and looking. And I happened to see this thing in the sky. Bear in mind, there's light pollution. A lot of light pollution because I was pretty much standing next to a path light or whatever I should call it. It's not a street light, but it's a light of some sort. And I remember I could see the Big Dipper was pretty much right above the city, and I could barely make it out. And you know how bright that usually is, then you can possibly understand the amount of light pollution. So I was standing there, and remember, this whole thing took maybe 5-6 seconds in total. Yet I had time to think an awful lot. I saw this blur in the sky that looked sort of like the Pleiades. I was like, are those the Pleiades? They're not supposed to be over there with the Big Dipper. And it can't be them. It's moving. It was sort of coming at me. In my direction, roughly. And I was just it was so faint. It wasn't like a clear, glowing thing at all. It was barely visible. It was just a fluke that I got my eye on it, and I could follow it. And it came up, as it got closer, it came up slightly to my left side, above me. And I was so baffled. I was like, is that a flock of birds? But it sort of shifted. It looked kind of like, if you imagine, in the night sky, and a flock of white birds flying V formation, but they don't stick to that formation particularly rigidly. It's sort of morphed all the time. And right when it came up, and it was almost beside and above me, that's sort of when I went, whoa, because it flew by me so fast. There's no way it could have been a flock of birds, but it bloody looked like that. It was sort of vaguely V formation and had these white dots along the edges. I wouldn't say lights. They probably were lights, but like I said, light pollution. They were about the same strength as the Big Dipper. And when it passed that second, when it passed right by me to my left, I heard this sound, very subtle, like a deep, kind of deep wind, but an electric wind, if that makes any sense. It was very brief, but I got the sense it couldn't have been birds because of how fast they flew past me, whatever it was. And I was for the first time in my life after seeing something, I was like, wow, that was cool. That was actually cool, and I want to see it again. And then I remember my dad, he wants to see these, and he's never going to believe me about anything. So unless he sees something himself, he's never going to believe anything. So I immediately called him because I noted that it was going in his direction where he lives. I said, go outside right now and stare up at the sky and tell me if you see anything. And just to stand there and look in the direction of town and tell me if you see anything. Of course he didn't, because he's the kind of person that never sees anything, because he doesn't pay attention to details as I do. And so, yeah, it probably went his way, but anyway, first I called him, then I texted a friend. I've never done that before. Normally it's been just, oh, creepy, UFO-like thing. I want to go inside quickly before they abduct me, But this one was so cool. But then again, it could have been a flock of birds. I'm going to link to a video that looks somewhat like my bird UFO thing. Not really, because there are many more spots in this video. Mine was more clearly a V that then morphed and sort of changed. I can't even explain it. But I'm going to link to a video here. And yeah, that's that. That's the latest UFO thing that I've seen, even though I'm not asking for it. And yeah. And now we're going to talk about a more serious situation that has arisen. I have been, for years, Googling strange attacks on sheep by wolves, and trying to find any discrepancies, anything that would indicate that a dogman could possibly be around. I've been looking. I've heard of people up in the north who have seen a little werewolf-like thing 2-3 times. So I know that they could be here, but it's far from me and it's very vague, all of it. I heard of something in Gothenburg, but I'm not so I don't know. The guy wrote so little. I mean, if you see a dogman, would you just say, yeah, I was in the woods, I saw a dogman, I ran home? Wouldn't you sort of elaborate a little bit? So I don't know. But recently, or in the past few months, it's come to my attention that, oh yeah, we do have dogmen in Sweden. And not far from me at all. No, less than an hour from me. And you can listen to this dogman encounter on the Supernaturalists channel. Gonna link to it here. I actually suggest that you pause this video, open the other one in another tab and listen to that first. And then come back here. Okay, now I'm gonna continue. So I, of course, had to get in touch with this guy. And so I talked to the Supernaturalist and he put me in touch with this witness. And I asked him 25 million questions roughly, or 10 at least, and I probably asked a little more, but 10 the first time I think. And if you listened to the encounter, you'd heard that the first time it happened when they were young. He was in the woods on a dirt bike with his cousin, and this dogman actually ended up chasing them on 2 legs. Can you imagine? I mean, how bloody vulnerable wouldn't you feel on a dirt bike in the woods with a dogman on 2 legs chasing you? I mean, it was right up in the face of this cousin, apparently. Oh, I feel so sorry for these guys. If you listen to that encounter, you heard him say that it was about 4 hours north of Stockholm. That's when I reacted, since I live about 3 hours north of Stockholm. I asked him questions. I asked him about the exact spot, which I'm not at all at liberty to say or reveal at this time, because he doesn't want to be identified, of course. I mean, this is virtually unheard of here in Sweden, so no, it wouldn't be good. But I know the spots, and yeah, I'm gonna go there come spring, not to look for the dogman. I'm not an idiot. Just want to see the areas, and I want to feel if I feel anything. If you remember, bloody voice. If you remember, I told you about that experience I had when I was stargazing at the other place where I lived, further down this street, a long time ago. And I got this fear projected onto me. That's the only way I can describe it. It was like projected onto me by something external, something else. And I knew exactly which direction it came from. I could pin it exactly. I knew exactly where the danger was, even though I saw nothing. I could, like a radar, just tune into it. I want to see if I get a similar feeling in this area. Plus, I want to know if I'm able at all to sense them. I wanted to be able to sense them, because when I'm in the woods and I feel fine, I want to be fine. You know, I want to know if I can pick up on the energy or whatever. But then again, it's going to be hard to actually feel what you feel and not self-suggest something, you know, knowing that it's there. You can sort of suggest yourself into thinking that, oh yeah, I feel it. So it'll be hard. We'll see what happens with that. I'll show you pictures when I've been there, but it won't be until spring, because that forest road, it's like a logging road. It's not maintained at all during the winter. It's even harder to drive there in the summer, I hear. But anyways. So I asked this guy a bunch of questions, and it was dark brown, this Dogman. Like, dark brown, but it was darker, almost black on the chest and along the spine. It had the whole amber eye thing, which seems to be the absolutely most common eye color for Dogmen. The eyes were kind of slanted. And this is interesting. He said, or I said, compared to like a German Shepherd, how many times larger would you judge the size of the head of this thing to be? And then he says it's very hard to compare since the size difference in general is so huge. But he said it was 7 to 8 times larger than a really huge German Shepherd head. And then he said something that just, boof. He said this. He said that the distance from the tip of the nose up along the muzzle until you get to the eyes, the distance between the tip of the nose and the eyes was as long as his whole forearm, including hand. And that made me stare at my forearm for a long time. And I mean, look at it. I'm sure you're staring too. Look at it. Look how long that is. Imagine that. It's just, imagine your fingertips are at the nose. Then your elbow is going to be where the eyes start. How is that bloody possible? Oh my God. I think this is what we don't get. Those of us who haven't seen a Dogman, I don't think we get how enormous they actually are. And I don't think we can fathom when we see images that people draw and make of these and from movies, and we see that, but they're still two-dimensional. To see that for real in nature, standing, breathing, fur moving, I mean, being alive and actually existing. No matter if you believe in this or not, I believe in this. I believe the witnesses. And still, I think that would be such an amazing shock to see, because I don't understand how witnesses even get on with their lives. I don't think I could do that. So I asked how tall this thing was. When it was on 2 legs, it says it was 7 to 8 feet. Closer to 8, because it was kind of hunched. Always kind of hunched. And when it was on 4, considering the arms were so long, and the posture then became sort of hyena-esque. Considering that on 4 legs, it was kind of like reaching up to his shoulders. And he's about 6 foot. So, what would that be? A little over 5. And he says the ears were really long. And the first time he encountered it in the woods there on the dirt bikes, he didn't smell anything. They were fleeing. This was running after them, so that could be explained with that. The second time, when he had been out relieving himself outside, and this thing came out of the woods on the other side of the street and smelled the area where he had done his thing, that time he said it smelled like, okay, I'm just gonna translate this. It smelled like old piss and dirty wet dog. Not like normal wet dog, but incredibly strong wet dog, like you rub your face in the dog, and mix this with well, a porta potty that hasn't been cleaned for weeks. It was a harsh strong smell. And I asked about the cousin, the one who had the Dogman running right next to it in the woods, and turns out that this cousin has sadly completely repressed this. A few years ago, when he asked, the cousin had said, it must have been a bear, and now he seems to just completely say, no, didn't happen, never happened, nope. Which is common. This is a way that's one of the ways that people, deal with this, is to just try to repress it completely. But it's sad. I see a sad future for this cousin if he doesn't get some proper help. He also describes the posture of this thing on 4 legs. When I asked if it was kind of hyena-like, he said, yeah, that kind of like that, but much more muscular. This looked like a bodybuilder on steroids with fur. I asked about the hands. The hands weren't like human hands. They weren't paws. There was something in between. The palm of the hand was longer and larger than humans, sort of drawn out, stretched out. And it had those little pads on the inside of the hands like dogs do. And it had fingers like a person's, but much longer. Very dark. He thinks the skin was almost black on this thing. The claws were as his index finger, if not more. And they weren't skinny, he says, like a dog's, but larger and sort of hooked a little bit like a cat's claws. The feet were like a dog's or a wolf's. They were paws, but much, much larger. And the teeth. He said it has a lot of teeth. Too many teeth, kind of. It looked like it had too many teeth to close its mouth. But it could close its mouth, but it looked like it shouldn't be able to. The eyes, the nose, the teeth, the whole head is the thing that has caused him to have a lot of nightmares and remember that particular feature of this thing. That's the most terrifying part of it. He said the teeth are many and they're sort of bent slightly inwards. And the canines are almost too long. It looks like it really shouldn't be able to close its mouth, but it could. I asked about the fur, if it seemed well kept or if it was more mangy, dirty, unkempt, because that could be important. I didn't tell him why at first. I asked him that because I wanted to know if we look at wolves, when wolves live in a pack, they have better fur. They take care of each other, they groom each other, and they are generally more balanced, stable individuals because they share the food. It's a more safe way to live than if you say a rogue wolf who lives all by itself and can only depend on itself. These are the animals that tend to become problematic. So I wanted to know if this Dogman was a rogue or if it was possibly part of a pack. So about the fur, he says it wasn't mangy, but it wasn't groomed either. It was dirty and sort of knotty on the chest, like a dog that's been playing in dirt and mud in the woods the whole day. Which I'm not sure what to do with that information. I mean, that could be a pack member if it's just been a day that this thing has been out playing around in the mud. So it's hard to judge anything based on that. I don't know if it was a rogue or a pack member. And then, of course, I had to ask, because I had other people ask me to ask him about which movie werewolf it looked like. So I asked that, and he says that the best description would be the werewolf from The Howling, but with a sort of head from Dog Soldiers, but muscular like Van Helsing. The arms, he said, it looked like he could just hit him and crack him in two right there. And yeah, it wasn't a tiny, cute, sweet little Dogman that turned out to be living an hour from me. It was a huge, really bad one. And it's the last few months, there's actually been this process mentally for me of getting used to the idea that, they're here now. Normally when spring comes, not fully comes, just comes enough for you to be able to bike, I tend to sort of just go on these excursions, like I've been cooped up inside all winter, and I have to go to the woods, and just I bike to areas where I haven't been. Aren't that many areas around here left now, and then I go for walks somewhere I haven't walked before, just to walk, to explore, to be out there. Don't think I'm going to be doing that this spring, actually. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to feel like when spring comes, because it hasn't come yet, trust me. I guarantee that it's at least waist deep snow out there now. It's just so much. And this is going to change an awful lot, sadly. So, yeah, that's what's been going on here lately, other than the no voice situation and boredom. So, yeah, that's the situation, and I'll keep you updated on the Dogman situation when I get to know more. When I get to the area. It's going to take a while. So, yeah, it's been a while since I made a video, and feels a little weird to do it again. But I missed you. I did. And I won't be posting super often. I want to have something to say when I post, so we'll see how often I release something. I'm not one of those entertainment channels. There are tons of them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I too listen to these entertainment channels who talk about Dogman encounters and other scary stories in the woods and stuff, just for entertainment purposes. I do. But that's not what I am. And what I do, I don't do anything special. I research this topic, and I think a lot about it, and I share with you what I have come up with and what I've thought of and such. So yeah, that's what I do. Probably gonna have to stop talking now. I won't have any voice at all tomorrow. Very frustrating, this voice thing. Seriously, it's been 2 months. It's something you just take for granted. You open your mouth and you speak. And sing? I haven't been... I can speak now. Generally speaking, I can speak. I can speak to people that I meet when I go shopping or stuff like that without sounding like some constipated magpie. And stuff like that. I can do that reasonably. But I can't sing yet. That part of the voice is just so screwed up yet. There's just nothing coming out. It's just air. It's stupid. I need to make notes. So anyway, that's the situation, and you can now consider yourselves updated. And I also recommend that if you haven't, you listen to the latest episode of Dogman Encounters that aired on Friday. When was that? 2nd, I think. I'll link to it here. Okay, so because that was, oh my god, what a scary episode that was. And also the episode before that, a friend of mine, John Yassi, actually talks a lot about skinwalkers, for those of you who want to know more about that. Very, very interesting. He's Navajo. He knows what he's talking about. So okay, I'm going to link to that here. Alright, this will do for now. And everyone, please take care, be safe. Don't go wandering off into the woods with pork chops in your pockets. That's just not a good thing to do. And I'll see you next time. Bye.